So, you know what kids don't get in school? They don't get classes that teach them how to spend and save their money and how not to just completely blow it all so that they have nothing and end up working until they die. So they learn things in school like math and English and history and science, and all these things, of course, are good things, and they'll help you get a good job later on potentially if you do well in school, and maybe you'll even make a lot of money at this job at some point in the future. But you know what? Even with a high income, you could still end up working forever with gobs of debt if you don't know how to be financially wise. So this is important for everybody, whether you make a lot of money or whether you're making less. So personally, I did very well in school, but I didn't get this financial training that I'm talking to you about. And so I had to end up learning it through making mistakes, through trial and through error over many years, and eventually putting a lot of time into reading up on it later on in life. So the cool thing I found out, though, is that pretty much everybody can do this and learn how not to be poor, which could potentially be another name for this course, which is How Not to Be Poor. If you follow just some really simple principles in life, you'll retire with enough money to live without the fear of running out of that money. You might even potentially retire early. And if you're the right kind of person, you might even retire very, very wealthy. So what this course is not is there are quicker ways to becoming wealthy than what I'm about to share with you. Namely, go start a business that can scale up and serve a lot of people and make it a successful business. But that, of course, is something that takes a certain level of risk and a level of work that maybe not everybody is attuned to. Maybe not everybody's got the mindset for that. However, and I would say this, I think many, if not most people, aren't geared for that. So what I'm teaching today is the longer route to get to that wealth. But even then, the principles shared here are good for whatever path you take, whether you make a lot of money very early or you take the long route to a more typical retirement age. These are the concepts and guidelines that are going to help you maintain that wealth and do well. So I will say this right now as a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. What I'm teaching is for my kids. So take this however you want, but don't come sue me or blame me for any of your failures. What I am is a successful entrepreneur of 4 different companies with around 150 employees. And my first business and primary business is the one that gives me most of my income, and the 3 other businesses that I have are ones that I wanted to do because the first one afforded me the ability to do that. Before all that, before I started my own business, I was an employee of an international security company, and I worked my way up through the ranks over many years with this company, and I learned a lot along the way about finances, personal as well as with the business. And then since then, as I mentioned, I've been kind of focused on educating myself on finances. And at this point, I'm 44 years old, and by some standards, I'm retired and doing quite well. So this is a combination of things that I learned by doing and stuff that I read. It's also an overview. I would say that there are volumes. There's whole seminars, and there's books, there's YouTube videos, whatever you want. There's a ton of information out there on individual points that I'm going to go over in this course. But this is a starting point, and it'll give you the necessary basics that you need in order to get the idea of what we're trying to do. So who are these classes for? First of all, this is an actual conversation with my kids. I've got my 3 kids here, 3 of my 4 kids sitting here in front of me. My oldest lives out of town and is going to watch this on video. But they age from age 11 up to 19, the ones who are in front of me. My oldest is 22. And so I'm trying to gear this to something that is applicable to the 11-year-old and something that even the 19-year-old can use right away. So as I mentioned, I've done well with money, and I want my kids to do the same. And so they'll eventually inherit, hopefully, something that I've made, but that doesn't really matter if they don't really know how to use it wisely. For example, you can look up, and it's easy to find, actors, sports figures, people who've won the lottery, who have completely blown whatever money that they've earned along the way, or have gotten a large sum, or through a big salary, because they didn't know how to handle it. They didn't know what to do with it. So the point of that is, in the meantime here, between now and my demise and whenever they inherit whatever I give them, I want them to make their way through life on their own merits. I want them to succeed on their own and know what to do with money. So obviously I could just talk to my kids right now and not turn on the camera. But when I told people that I was putting this class together, a number of them wanted to sit in on it or join or watch it. So I'm recording it for them, again, for my oldest kid, for your kids, and for anyone who feels like they need a better grasp on living a financially solid life. I want you guys to have the tools that I didn't have, and what honestly most people don't have, and to learn from the mistakes that I made and the self-educating that I did. Doing so will help you save so much wasted time and heartache. And so because of that, I think every kid needs this, and I think most adults need it too. So let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, I broke this course up into 7 chunks, and I broke those 7 chunks into smaller, little more digestible bits, and hopefully it's easy enough, as I mentioned, for even my 11-year-old to understand what we're going to be going through. So those 7 chunks are, the first one we're going to be touching on is goals, how to make a defined, quantifiable goal and stick to it. We'll go over mindset, which is finding and maintaining the correct mindset that you need to be financially solid. We'll talk about work, how to work hard, look for opportunities, and exit the rat race. We'll talk about budgets and how to make a budget, stick to it. And we'll talk about debt, getting rid of debt if you've got it already, how not to ever get it in the first place if you're young enough not to. We'll talk about investing, how to save money and invest it and have it grow for you. And then the very final thing that we're going to talk about is what to avoid, like things along the way that could trip you up. So that's going to be the course for financial education.